Have you ever felt like happiness after 65 is out of reach, like growing older alone means fading into the background? I used to believe that, too, until one quiet morning changed everything. In this video, I'm taking you on a journey to redefine what joy looks like when life feels silent. Whether you're single, your kids are grown, or you're starting over. From my own story to my friend Sarah's inspiring transformation after unimaginable loss, you'll discover practical steps to turn loneliness into freedom and unlock a happiness you didn't know was possible. Watch until the end for the most powerful truth that could change how you see your future. It's a message you won't want to miss. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video, you can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Part 1. Being alone at 65 isn't easy. The morning was quiet, almost too quiet, as I sat with my coffee, staring out the window. It was one of those moments where the weight of solitude settled in, not with a crash, but with a slow, creeping heaviness. I realized then that I had a choice. I could mourn the life I thought I'd have, or I could rebuild from where I stood. But let's be clear, choosing to rebuild didn't mean I instantly found joy or clarity. The truth is, being alone at 65 is far from easy. It's a reality many of us never anticipated, and it's one we're rarely equipped to navigate. I think it's vital to say this out loud, to give voice to what so many of us experience in private. Too often, we plaster on a brave smile, nod through conversations, and act as though everything is perfectly fine. But behind closed doors, the story is different. There's a quiet ache, a sense of being lost, invisible, or even ashamed. Society doesn't make it easy to be single at this age. We live in a culture obsessed with youth, romance, and the idealized image of a family gathered around a dinner table, laughing in perfect harmony. From glossy commercials to blockbuster movies to the casual chatter at a coffee shop, the message is clear. Happiness is synonymous with togetherness. Solitude, on the other hand, is rarely celebrated. It's something to be fixed, pitted, or overcome. When you find yourself alone, whether through divorce, the loss of a partner, or simply the unpredictable twists of life, it's easy to internalize that narrative. You start to wonder if you've failed somehow, if your solitude is a reflection of some personal shortcoming. I've had well-meaning people say things like, "You're so strong for being on your own," their words laced with kindness but carrying a subtle undertone of pity. It's as if being alone isn't a valid choice or a natural part of life, but a condition to endure, a hurdle to clear. And I'll admit, there were moments when I bought into that perspective. I questioned my worth, my decisions, and my past. Did I miss my chance at happiness? Was this loneliness my fault? Those questions creep in when the house is too quiet, when the silence amplifies every doubt. In those moments, it's easy to spiral. Late at night, when the world is asleep and your thoughts are too loud, you replay your life like a movie reel. Every relationship, every choice, every unspoken word gets scrutinized under the harsh light of hindsight. You wonder if you could have done something differently, if you could have been someone different. And then comes the deeper fear. Would anyone notice if I just faded away? If I stopped showing up for my routines, my errands, my small daily rituals? Would it matter? I've been there, in that dark, questioning place. And if you're there now, I want you to hear this. You are not alone in feeling this way. More importantly, being alone does not mean you are broken. Let that sink in. Your worth isn't tied to your relationship status. Your value doesn't diminish because you're navigating this chapter on your own. Being alone doesn't mean you've missed your shot at love, joy, or purpose. It simply means life has. This chapter of solitude is uncharted territory, one that no one hands you a guidebook for. There's no roadmap for how to thrive when the life you envisioned looks different than the one you're living. But the absence of a guide doesn't mean this chapter is any less meaningful or any less beautiful. The real challenge isn't the solitude itself. It's confronting the story we've been sold about what it means to be alone. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when did solitude become something to be ashamed of? When did we stop seeing it as sacred, a space for reflection, growth, and self-discovery, and start treating it as a source of anxiety or failure? Consider everything you've endured to reach this point. You've worn countless hats: parent, partner, friend, caregiver, professional. You've poured love into others, fought battles no one else saw, and kept showing up even when it was hard. You've carried the weight of responsibilities, made sacrifices, and built a life through decades of effort. That resilience, that strength, is proof of your worth. You've earned the right to stand tall in your own company, to feel whole without needing someone else to complete you. But the world doesn't hand out medals for that kind of quiet courage. So, let me offer you something better. Permission. Permission to say, yes, I'm alone right now, and that's okay. Permission to release the shame, the guilt, the pressure to be anything other than where you are. Something transformative happens when you stop judging yourself for your solitude. The weight begins to lift. You stop measuring your life against other people's highlight reels, their marriages, their family photos, their seemingly perfect stories. You realize your path doesn't have to mirror anyone else's to be valid. Your life, with all its complexities and unexpected turns, is enough. And in that realization, you create space. Space to breathe, to reflect, to rediscover what matters to you. That space becomes the foundation for something new, something authentic, something that feels like yours. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Part 2. Redefining happiness. Happiness, as we're often taught, seems to hinge on external markers: a partner, a family, a home filled with laughter and framed memories. But what happens when those markers shift, fade, or never materialize in the way you imagined? For so long, I believed my worth was tied to my relationship status, as if being single or alone in my 60s meant I was somehow incomplete. Then, something inside me began to stir, a quiet, transformative shift that started when I stopped asking, "Why am I alone?" and instead dared to ask, "What if this moment is my chance to become the fullest version of myself?" That single question, like a seed planted in fertile soil, sparked a profound journey of redefining happiness. Society hands us a blueprint early on: find a spouse, raise children, build a life that looks complete from the outside. And perhaps you followed that path for years. Maybe you still hold pieces of it close: a house with a familiar creak in the floorboards, photo albums filled with faces that shaped your past. But life has a way of rewriting our stories. Children grow up and move away. Partners may pass on, drift apart, or leave in ways you never anticipated. Circumstances, divorce, loss, or simply the passage of time, can unravel the map you once followed so faithfully. When that happens, grief often arrives, uninvited. It's not just grief for people, though that cuts deeply. It's grief for the life you thought you'd always have, the version of yourself you expected to be at this stage. I've sat with that grief, felt its weight in the quiet hours of the night. But I've learned something vital. Grief and growth are not enemies. They coexist, often in the same breath. If you listen closely, growth begins to whisper a new possibility, a definition of happiness that doesn't rely on anyone else to complete you. It places you at the center of your own story. Here's a truth I wish someone had told me decades ago. In your 60s, or at any age, you have permission to redesign what happiness looks like, and you don't need anyone's approval to do it. Happiness doesn't have to mean a bustling household or a partner to share the sunset with. It can be as simple as crafting a morning routine that feels sacred, sipping your favorite coffee from a mug that fits perfectly in your hands, reading a book you chose for no reason other than it called to you. It might mean tending a small garden, watching seedlings push through the earth, or taking a walk at dusk to feel the world slow down. For some, it's finally booking that trip to a place you've dreamed of visiting, no longer waiting for the right time or the right person to make it real. For me, redefining happiness required brutal honesty about what I truly enjoyed and what I didn't. I permitted myself to say no to social obligations that left me drained, even if it meant ruffling feathers or disappointing someone. I stopped waiting for a companion to try the things I longed to experience. I began visiting museums alone, savoring the quiet hum of my thoughts as I lingered before a painting. I took myself to dinner, not as a consolation but as an act of celebration, choosing restaurants I loved and ordering dishes that delighted me. I sat in parks, listening to the soft chorus of birdsong, and discovered a profound truth. There is a steady, unshakable joy in your own company when you stop fearing it. Happiness, I've learned, isn't always a grand, cinematic moment. It's often subtle, woven into the fabric of ordinary days. It's the peace of a clutter-free mind, the stillness of a moment when you're no longer striving to prove yourself. It's waking up and realizing you're not performing for anyone. Not society, not family, not even the younger version of yourself who had so many plans. You're simply being, and that is enough. Of course, this journey isn't without its shadows. There are still days when the silence feels too heavy, when the future seems uncertain, or the past pulls at your heart. But now, instead of running from those moments, I try to meet them with compassion. I remind myself, this life may not look like the one I envisioned, but it's not empty. It's mine, and I'm shaping it with every choice I make. In a world that often insists we need someone else to feel whole, choosing to live fully on your terms is an act of courage. It's not always easy, but it's deeply rewarding. When you stop following someone else's script, you begin to uncover what truly sets your soul alight. That inner light, once kindled, has a magnetic quality. It draws the right people, those who see and value the real you. It attracts experiences that resonate with your energy, moments of peace that feel authentic and unforced. In the next part of this journey, I'll share the practical steps I took to build this new version of happiness. Small habits, rediscovered passions, and intentional choices that help me reconnect with joy. But before we move forward, I'd love to hear from you. What does happiness mean to you right now? Not what it meant a decade ago, not what you were taught it should be, but today, in this moment. Share your thoughts, and let's inspire each other to keep redefining what lights us up. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Part 3. Building joy one small step at a time. Once I permitted myself to redefine happiness, the next question loomed large. How do I bring this vision to life? Not just as a fleeting idea or a hopeful thought, but as a tangible reality woven into the rhythm of my days. I expected the answer to be dramatic, a bold move, a sweeping transformation. Instead, it arrived quietly, through small, deliberate choices that, over time, grew into something substantial and deeply fulfilling. I quickly realized that happiness doesn't demand a complete overhaul of your life. It begins with creating tiny pockets of joy and being present enough to savor them. I started with simple rituals that felt meaningful to me. Each morning, I made my bed with care, smoothing the sheets as a small act of intention for the day ahead. I opened the windows, letting fresh air sweep through the house, even if I had no plans to go anywhere. At night, I lit a candle, not for guests, not for an occasion, but for myself, because I deserved to feel surrounded by beauty. These acts might seem insignificant, but they carried a powerful message. My life is worthy of care, even when no one else is watching. I also became more mindful of how I spent my time and how it affected me. I started asking a simple but transformative question. Does this energize me, or does it drain me? That question became my guiding compass. I began to let go of obligations that left me feeling hollow, endless committee meetings, social events that felt performative, and instead filled my days with activities that sparked even the smallest sense of joy or curiosity. It wasn't about being selfish, it was about honoring my energy and needs. One of the most liberating steps I took was reconnecting with a hobby I'd abandoned decades ago: painting. I wasn't particularly skilled, and that was perfectly fine. Embracing my beginner's mindset was a revelation. I didn't paint to create a masterpiece or impress anyone. I painted because the act of mixing colors, feeling the brush glide across the canvas, brought me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. In those quiet moments, I rediscovered parts of myself, playful, creative, unburdened, that had been buried under the weight of routine and responsibility. Your joy might not come from painting. Perhaps it's tending a garden, coaxing life from the soil. Maybe it's journaling, letting your thoughts spill onto the page without judgment. It could be baking bread, dancing to songs from your youth in the privacy of your living room, or learning something new, like photography or pottery. The specific activity isn't the point. What matters is the why behind it. When you engage in something purely because it makes you feel alive, you're not just chasing joy, you're practicing self-respect. You're building a life that revolves around your own heart, not around what's missing. Another pivotal change was pushing myself to step outside my comfort zone, even when I didn't feel ready. I joined a local book club, not out of loneliness or a need for friends, but because I craved new ideas and the chance to connect with others who loved learning. At first, walking into that room alone felt daunting. I worried I wouldn't fit in or that I'd seem out of place. But over time, I realized that showing up for myself, choosing to engage with the world on my terms, was far more rewarding than staying home out of fear. That book club opened unexpected doors. It led to casual coffee meetups with new acquaintances, art walks in my neighborhood, and even volunteering at a local animal shelter, where the simple act of caring for animals brought me a sense of purpose. I didn't set out to build a new community, but by following what felt meaningful, I found one. That's the beauty of investing in your joy. It creates a ripple effect. Like-minded people gravitate toward authentic energy, and connections form naturally when you're living in alignment with your values. This isn't about staying busy to avoid emptiness. It's about being intentional, choosing actions that reflect who you are and what you care about, even if no one else understands your choices. When you prioritize your own needs and passions, you begin to attract a life that mirrors your truest self, a life filled with moments that feel vibrant and real. If there's one piece of wisdom I hope you carry forward, it's this: you don't need to have everything figured out to begin. Just start. This week, choose one small thing that brings you peace or piques your curiosity. It could be as simple as brewing a cup of tea and sitting quietly to enjoy it, signing up for a class that intrigues you, or taking a walk in a place that soothes your soul. Commit to it. Make it part of your routine. Those small, quiet investments in your well-being are the foundation of a joyful life. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Part 4, taking care of your body and mind, is the foundation of joy. You can have all the time in the world, boundless freedom to pursue your passions, and a calendar filled with hobbies, but if your body is weary and your mind is weighed down, joy will remain elusive, like a distant horizon you can see but never reach. This is a lesson I learned through hard-won experience, one that reshaped how I approach my days and, ultimately, my life. For a long time, I thought I was doing everything right. I was active in my community, joining clubs, attending social events, and keeping my schedule packed with activities. On the surface, I was thriving, engaged, connected, busy. But beneath it all, I was neglecting the one person who needed my attention most: myself. Living alone, I fell into the trap of letting structure slip away. There was no one to nudge me toward a balanced meal, no one to remind me to step away from the screen and stretch, no one to encourage me to prioritize rest or soak in the warmth of a sunny afternoon. Without those gentle checks, I drifted into habits that left me depleted. It's easy to lose sight of self-care when you're on your own. The days can blur into one another, each one indistinguishable from the last. You might skip breakfast because it feels like too much effort, or you might spend hours sedentary, lost in thought or distraction. The silence that fills a home can shift from peaceful to oppressive, a heavy quiet that amplifies feelings of loneliness or disconnection. I've been there. I've faced mornings where the weight of getting out of bed felt insurmountable, evenings where the stillness was so loud it drowned out my ability to think clearly. An emotional fog would settle in, clouding my perspective and making joy feel like a memory from someone else's life. What pulled me out of that haze wasn't a single, life-altering revelation. It was a series of small, intentional acts of care that, over time, became my lifeline. I started with something as simple as hydration. It might sound trivial, but committing to drinking water throughout the day brought a surprising clarity and energy to my body. It was a small win, but it gave me momentum. From there, I began taking short walks, 10 minutes around the block at first, nothing ambitious. I wasn't walking to burn calories or meet a fitness goal. I was walking to prove to myself that I could show up for my well-being, even on the days when motivation was nowhere to be found. Those walks became a ritual, a quiet promise to myself. Over time, I started paying closer attention to what I ate. Not with rigid rules or deprivation, but with a sense of kindness. I swapped out processed snacks for whole foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, and meals I cooked with care. Cooking for one can feel like a chore, but I began to see it as an act of self-respect. I was worth the effort of a nourishing meal, and so are you. These changes weren't just about physical health. They were about reclaiming a sense of agency over my life. But caring for the body is only part of the equation. The mind requires just as much attention, if not more, especially when you live alone and have ample time for introspection. That time can be a gift or a burden, depending on the mental habits you cultivate. I noticed a pattern of negative self-talk that had become a constant undercurrent in my days. Thoughts like, "You're not doing enough. You're wasting your time. No one cares," was subtle but relentless, eroding my confidence and dimming my sense of purpose. Recognizing this, I made a deliberate choice to shift how I spoke to myself. I started small, writing down 3 things I was grateful for each morning. Simple things like the warmth of my coffee, the sound of birds outside, or a kind word from a friend. This practice grounded me, reminding me of the beauty in my everyday life. I also began challenging my critical thoughts, replacing them with gentler ones. Instead of "you should be further along by now," I'd tell myself, "You're doing your best, and that's enough." I started speaking to myself the way I would a dear friend, with patience, encouragement, and compassion. That shift in my inner dialogue was transformative, slowly reshaping how I saw myself and my place in the world. Another practice that became essential was carving out time for intentional stillness. Not the numbing kind, where you lose hours scrolling on your phone or staring at a screen, but a purposeful pause. I'd sit quietly, close my eyes, and focus on my breath. Some might call it meditation. For me, it was a way of coming home to myself, of reconnecting with my presence. Those moments of quiet helped me process my emotions, untangle my thoughts, and find a sense of calm amid the noise of daily life. Self-care isn't always glamorous. It's not about spa days or grand gestures. Most often, it's in the mundane choices: drinking water instead of soda, choosing a walk over another hour on the couch, or turning off the TV to get to bed at a reasonable hour. It's setting boundaries with people who drain your energy and learning to say no when you need to protect your peace. Above all, it's about listening to the signals your body and soul are sending, whether it's a craving for rest, movement, connection, or quiet, and honoring them with action. This journey isn't without its challenges. There are days when the old habits creep back, when the fog feels thick, or when loneliness casts a long shadow. But with each act of care, the process becomes easier. These habits, hydration, movement, nourishment, kindness, stillness, become anchors, grounding you in a sense of stability and strength. They give you the clarity to pursue what lights you up, the resilience to connect with others authentically, and the fortitude to navigate the solitary moments without unraveling. As we move to the next part of this video, I want to share a story that touched me deeply. The story of my friend Sarah and how she rebuilt her life after a devastating loss. Her journey is a testament to the truth that even in the wake of profound grief, joy can find its way back, not as a replacement for what was lost, but as a new, vibrant chapter written with courage and love. Part 5. Sarah's Story, Rebuilding After Loss. Let me introduce you to Sarah, a woman whose resilience and grace have left an indelible mark on my heart. Sarah was married to Mark, her high school sweetheart, for 41 years. Together, they built a life rich with shared experiences, raising 2 children, navigating career changes, moving across states, and celebrating countless milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. They weathered hardships, too: financial struggles, health scares, the inevitable challenges of a long life together. Through it all, their partnership was a constant, a thread that wove their days into a tapestry of love and meaning. But 3 years ago, Mark passed away unexpectedly, and Sarah's world came to a shattering halt. In the immediate aftermath, Sarah did what many of us do when faced with overwhelming grief. She kept moving. She cleaned the house, responded to condolence messages, planned the memorial, and welcomed the steady stream of casseroles from well-meaning neighbors. But when the flurry of activity subsided, when the phone stopped ringing and the visitors dwindled, Sarah found herself alone in a house that felt too big, too quiet. One day, she sat by the window, staring at the world outside, and realized the depth of her loss. "It wasn't just that Mark was gone," she told me. "It was that I didn't know who I was without him." That kind of grief doesn't announce itself with a single, cathartic cry. It lingers in the small, everyday moments: the empty chair at the dinner table, the absence of a familiar laugh, the silence where a shared conversation used to be. It's the ache of no one calling your name in the morning, no one to share the mundane details of your day. For Sarah, the weight of that loss was profound, a quiet heartbreak that reshaped her sense of self. But Sarah's story doesn't end in that chair by the window. She allowed herself to grieve fully, to feel the depth of her sorrow without rushing to fix it. And when the time felt right, not because she was ready, but because she was willing, she made a choice that would change the trajectory of her life. She didn't try to move on, as if Mark's memory could be left behind. Instead, she chose to move forward, carrying his love with her while building something new. One morning, Sarah signed up for a local art class. She hadn't picked up a paintbrush in over 30 years, but a quiet instinct urged her to try. The first day, she walked into the studio alone, her hands trembling with nerves. She felt out of place, unsure of herself. But as she dipped her brush into color and watched it spread across the canvas, something shifted. There was a comfort in creation, a sense of agency in bringing something beautiful into existence when so much had been taken away. That class became a weekly refuge, a place where she could lose herself in color and form, where grief could coexist with moments of lightness. Encouraged by this small step, Sarah joined a book club at the local library. She was hesitant at first, sitting quietly in the circle of strangers, listening more than speaking. But week after week, the faces became familiar. Conversations deepened, and soon, names turned into friendships. One woman from the group invited Sarah to volunteer at an animal shelter on weekends. Sarah wasn't sure she had the energy or the heart for it, but she went anyway, driven by a flicker of curiosity and the desire to keep moving forward. Today, Sarah still lives in the home she and Mark shared. She speaks of him often, sometimes with a wistful smile, sometimes with tears that catch her by surprise. But she's not trying to fill the void he left, an impossible task. Instead, she's crafting a life alongside her grief, one that honors her past while embracing the present. Her Sundays are now spent painting, her brushstrokes bold and expressive. She leads a discussion circle at the library, where her thoughtful insights spark lively debates. And at the animal shelter, there's a one-eyed cat named Toby who trails her every step, claiming her as his own. When Sarah tells that story, her laughter is full and unguarded, the kind that comes from someone who has made peace with pain and found joy in its midst. Sarah's journey is a powerful reminder that healing doesn't mean erasing the past or pretending the hurt never happened. It means allowing yourself to feel the weight of loss while also making room for new experiences, new connections, and new versions of yourself. Being alone doesn't mean your story is over. It might mean a new chapter is beginning, one where you step into the role of the main character. We often assume that life's greatest adventures happen in youth or the company of others, but Sarah's story shows us that some of the most profound moments come later, when you've been broken, rebuilt, and permitted yourself to live fully for you. If you're watching this and feeling like joy is a privilege reserved for others, let Sarah's story be a beacon. She's not extraordinary in the way we often think of heroes. She's ordinary, like you and me. But she chose courage over despair, one small step at a time. And through those steps, she's woven a life that feels vibrant, purposeful, and deeply her own. Wherever you are in your journey, know that you, too, can take that first step toward a fuller heart. So, here we are at the end of this journey, but perhaps it's just the beginning of something new for you. Whether you're 65, 75, or anywhere along this path, I hope this video has shown you that being alone doesn't mean your story is over. It means you have the space to write a chapter that's truly yours. Happiness isn't reserved for the past or others. It's in every small, courageous choice you make for yourself. I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned so far from this video? What's one thing you've taken away that you'll bring into practice in your own life? Please share it in the comments below. Your words could inspire someone else watching. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more conversations about healing, growth, and finding purpose later in life. You're part of this journey, and I can't wait to see you in the comments.